Alright, I'm not sure if I'm coming in focus, hopefully I am. This is a video to prove that you can install your own remote start system in a 2008 Chevy Impala without having to pay somebody to do it. So I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show you what I used, what I learned, and hopefully you can save a lot of money and a lot of time by learning from me, because there are not a lot of good resources out there on the internet right now on how to install these types of systems in these year of vehicles. So we're really stuck going to a lot of these install companies and paying $200 or $300 to have somebody install something that you can do yourself if you understand basic wiring techniques. So I'm going to turn the camera around and talk a little bit about what I have, and then show you how to get through it with very little frustration. So let's turn it around. So I have a 2008 Chevy Impala LS. A 2008 Chevy Impala LS does not come from the factory with a remote start built into it, so you do have to install this yourself. If you have an LT, or probably an LTZ also, if you look under your cover for your tire, you can see whether or not you have the code to install just use the key fob. If you order the key fob with the remote start button, it automatically, once you program it to the car, will allow you to remote start the car. But if you have an LS, typically it does not come with that. You still want to check the code just to make sure it wasn't installed and somebody just lost the remote. But my car definitely does not have it installed. So I went and bought a CoolStart, Crimestopper brand CoolStart RS4G4 remote start unit off of Amazon, and then also found out that I had to, because I have the passkey 3 system in my car, that I found out I had to buy a Fortin brand device to mimic the key, so that way it would bypass the theft deterrent system. So I went out and bought this Fortin ALL. So if you go out and buy the Fortin device, you have to buy the Fortin EVO-ALL. So if you look underneath, right below your steering wheel, you'll see the sections you have to remove. You first have to remove the plastic cover, which I can grab that out of my passenger seat. So you have to remove the plastic cover here, which just takes a couple body pins, a couple screws to remove the plastic cover. And then underneath the plastic cover, there is a metal protective plate that you have to remove also, and those are black plastic pins to remove, I think. So once you've done that, then you have to take the console cover out from underneath the steering wheel. And that looks like this. I recommend removing it carefully. It does not go around the tilt adjust very well, so just try to pull it out as best you can without creating too much damage. So once you've done that, you've now exposed your passkey system, and you've exposed all of your wiring, your ignition wiring. So I did learn trial and error going through the wiring diagrams in the manual, and then also the diagrams that were provided by Fortin. I learned that you do have to be pretty careful as far as what wires that you cut. I went and got this stripping tool from your local auto parts store. You can get this wire stripping tool, which is pretty sharp. It grabs the wire and actually strips the wire without actually cutting the wire, so you can create an open spot of bare wire without actually having to cut the wire and splice it in. So that's kind of nice. That was like $11 or something from the auto parts store. So I'd recommend getting that. I'd recommend having a nice simple set of wire cutters available, so that way when you do need to cut in a wire, you can strip it nice and clean. So a nice set of wire cutters. And then some electrical tape. And maybe some liquid electrical tape too, in case you want to seal those connections. So once you've determined what wires you need to connect for your CoolStart, you can see this looks like a massive pile of spaghetti wires, and I'll get it cleaned up here shortly. Follow the wiring diagram provided with your CoolStart in the back. Ignore the install instructions, they don't mean anything. Go all the way to the back of the manual and you'll find the wiring diagram for the outputs from the remote start. And then get the Fortin device. Once you get the Fortin device, one thing that I learned by mistake was you do have to get the Fortin flash link tool. So it was easiest to order from Amazon. It was $50, and that's that round red disc. You do need that to flash your Fortin device up to the right level of firmware. Then you also needed to read your passkey system and then send it to them and decrypt it. Otherwise, it will not be able to send the right information to your passkey system in your dash. So I'm going to get some paperwork and get some wiring, and then we'll start back up again here in a second. Okay, so I ran in the house and grabbed some manuals and paperwork so you could see it. So this is the installation instructions for the CoolStart, and I tried to read through a lot of this install, which is basically worthless. Really the only important part you're interested in is the wiring information here in the back, because you have to know how it's going to talk to the Fortin and how it's going to talk to the car. So you do have to plug in the high current plug and then connect the red wires to the 12-volt battery wherever you have a 12-volt battery service or connection. You do have to connect up the gray to the accessory and the pink to the ignition, because the remote start has to be able to start the car. I did not connect up the pink-white because that was not necessary. And I did not connect up the brown either because that was not necessary. So I only connected the two reds to 12-volt, the gray to accessory, and the pink to ignition. And everything else I wasn't worried about. So, as I said, you do need the FlashLink updater tool, and I brought the FlashLink updater tool here for you guys to look at. So you do want to buy this from Amazon or whatever. It plugs into your PC. You download the software and then go through updating the firmware, flashing the firmware up on your Fortin device, and then also decrypting the information from your vehicle. So this comes directly off of Fortin's webpage. If you go to Fortin's webpage under their support, you'll find this document here. It's a 6-page document. It's probably the most accurate, the most current information for the 2008 Impala. So the important part about it is this wiring diagram here. It talks very specifically about what you need. And you can see here the Impala, the brown pin number 3, white pin 5, red white pin 2, which actually was 1 for me, and then the pink pin, and then the red white and the green pin off of the connection to your passkey system. So you have the ignition connection here and you have the passkey system there. So that's the important part, is basically taking the wiring from the Fortin into the ignition and passkey system. So this is not difficult. This is really not difficult at all. So from the EVO-ALL, you connect up the brown wire coming out of the EVO, and they have everything matched as far as how the pins work. You have your EVO-ALL brown. Sorry about this. Phone doesn't do a really good job of focusing. Brown comes out and goes into your green coming out of your passkey system. And so I have brown here coming out to the green, and I used that tool that I talked about to strip that wire back without actually having to cut it. And mine, of course, is not pin 4, it's pin 5 coming out of there. So yours may be different, but look for the green wire. That's important to connect. And then I'll clean all this up later. Your white-red that comes out is going to connect up to the 12-volt battery line that comes out of that. And then you're actually going to cut that wire, and you're going to tie the white-red into the 12-volt, and then you're going to tie the white-green into where it goes into the wiring harness. So what I've done is taken the white-red that comes out, and I've tied it to the red-white that goes into the Fortin device, and then the other side of that red-white is right here, which is going to the white-green. So just a simple cut and tie the two together, and you're done for that connection. Then your last connection for this side is your yellow-red that goes into the, where does that go? It goes into the ignition line, which is pink. So you're going to connect the yellow-red to the pink in your ignition module. So you can see here I have yellow-red, and I have it tied in to my pink wire here. And you can see the pink that's coming from the remote start is also tied into that pink wire that's coming out of that ignition module that's coming out from there. So again, use that tool, that $12 tool from the parts store to strip that. Let's see if I can move this away out of the way. So you can strip that pink wire. You can see that pink wire coming out. You're going to strip that pink wire back and then tie in that yellow-red and also the pink that's coming from your remote start. And then last one is your yellow-blue. And your yellow-blue is going to tie to your 12-volt battery, which is going to be your battery line coming out of your ignition switch, which is going to be your red-white wire. So you can see I took the two reds. Remember we talked about the two reds that were coming out of the remote start? I tied the two reds and the yellow-blue into that white, that red-white wire that was coming out of the ignition. Again, use that tool to strip that wire back so you don't have to cut it, and then just tie those two in, and then you can use either liquid electrical tape or regular electrical tape to wire those up. But you can see there, if I can get this thing to focus, maybe, you can see there that I've tied that to that red-white wire, and like I said, I'll button it all up later. So that takes care of one side of your EVO-ALL. The other side of your EVO-ALL, you have a green-red that's going to go to the V-data connection. Now, the V-data connection for our Chevy Impala is white. So we're going to look for a white wire that's coming out of the ignition, which is not too difficult to see right there, that white wire, which is the second in from the end. We're going to take that white wire, and we're actually going to splice that green-red in. So we're going to grab the red-green. Where is that red-green? Green-red. Where are you? I must have... There we go. So our green-red right here is going to tie into our white wire. Okay? So when green-red is tied into that white wire, and then that will be the V-data wire. And everything else you can pretty much ignore other than your yellow wire. So you can ignore all of this and this right here. You do not have to connect this, okay? The remote start, hopefully the remote start you buy, which my remote start, was it the remote start? Remote start of the Fortin. The Fortin came with the data cable, and that's really, really important. Get a remote start unit that accepts a data cable. It is critical because you save all of these connections here in that one data cable. So if you take that yellow wire and you connect that yellow wire to your ignition, because yellow comes across and goes to the ignition line, which the ignition on here is pink. So I take the yellow wire, and you can see the yellow wire right here is tied into that pink line. So you're going to tie the pink coming from the remote start, the yellow coming from the Fortin, and the yellow-red coming from the Fortin into that pink wire that's coming out of the ignition harness. Okay? So what we've done is we've done some simple connections. We've connected the two reds to the red-white coming from the remote start, the pink from the remote start into the pink ignition. Then the EVO-ALL, we've connected the brown wire, we've connected the white-red wire, we've connected the yellow-green, yellow-red, yellow-blue, green-red, and then our yellow. And that's it. You're done. You have no more wires that you need to splice because the data connection takes care of the communication between the EVO-ALL and the remote start, and these connections here take care of the communication between the EVO-ALL and the actual ignition system. So you're done at this point. That's all you really had to wire was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, probably 10 connections, and you're done. You can zip tie all the rest of the spaghetti string up, which I'm going to do is zip tie it up all real tight and wrap it up real tight. And then from there, now comes programming. So follow these programming instructions right to the T. You've got to follow them to the T. So you press and hold the programming button, then insert the 4-pin data connector from the remote start. You'll see those lights start cycling. Look for just blue and let go of that button. Once you've let go of that button, connect all the rest of your cables to that Fortin device. Turn the ignition to the on position, and the blue light will start blinking rapidly. Okay? Press and release that button once. When you press and release that once, you will see that blue light disappear, and the yellow and red lights alternate. Okay? You need to leave that on there, okay, until you've turned the ignition off. Then once you turn the ignition off, then from there, you can take that Fortin, disconnect all your wires from the Fortin, and take it in, connect it up to that programmer, and go ahead and flash your device. So once you've flashed your device up, you brought the firmware up, and then transmitted that code up there and gotten it successfully decrypted from Fortin, then you can bring it back out here and plug it in. If any of those points fail, keep repeating that process until you get that right. You can't break anything as long as you keep repeating this process, okay? So get it right. Once it says it's successfully decrypted it, bring it back out here, plug everything in again. You can see here, once it's completely decrypted, you can plug everything in. Once you've plugged everything in, then you can go ahead and test your remote start. And from there, everything is all connected. All you have to do is just button it up nice and tight, wire it up, and close everything up. Make sure you hang your antenna out where you can see it. Make sure you have your valet button where you can see it and your light where you can see it. And then from there, you know, you have your remote. You simply just hit start on the remote. The remote communicates to the Fortin. The Fortin communicates to the vehicle. The vehicle then starts, and you're good to go. So the car started, no problem at all. The service engine soon light is not on. The theft deterrent system is not on. I do not have a key in the ignition, and I'm done. All I have to do is button up all these wires, and I'm ready to go. And that's it. So this did not take a lot of time. Focus on that. You know, this didn't take a lot of time. If I had the information I'm sharing with you about what all this takes, I probably could have had it done in a few hours. But I had to call Fortin a few times to get the right answers, to get the answers to my questions. I didn't know I needed the flash device. I didn't know that I needed to flash it up. I did not know that I needed to decrypt it. But once I get everything connected, what's really cool is that the Fortin device using that data connection connects directly to that remote start. And from there, it takes care of everything else. I can lock, unlock, pop the trunk, start the car, turn the car off, and everything is managed. So I highly recommend trying to do this yourself versus paying $200 or $300 to some joker that's going to do the same thing. It's really not that difficult. I showed you within 10 wires that you can need to connect once you remove your panels, flash your Fortin, decrypt your connection, and then put everything up inside the dash, and you're done. So I hope this helps out a lot. I hope this helps other people, because I had no resource to turn to. Once I called up shops and told them that I started this process, they did not want to help me. Nobody wanted to help me at all. So I really was stuck by myself and had to figure it out. So hopefully this helps you in the future and saves you a lot of money. Thanks.